Hello, everyone. This is Frank, and we have the wonderful Gordie with us from CoreVal Homes. He's a third generation builder, very trusted builder and realtor in the Greater Vancouver area. How are you doing, Gordie?
Good. We've been busy. Things have been good. Got some good people to work with on both sides, internally and with our customers.
Yes, I see all the exciting news on social media, and I'm sure our audience has too. So today we have an interesting topic that we wanted to share with our audience. Maybe you are one of those people that have some fun sitting around. You're not sure what to do with it, as you know, with the stock market being very volatile recently. What are some other avenues or some other investment opportunity that people might be thinking about? So, Gordy, maybe talk to us a little bit about what you have in mind and why you want to entertain doing this.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. I think it's really good timing that we kind of change gears. We're always talking about our projects in hand and doing work for homeowners mainly. But you know what? My dad was a big spec builder. I'm not as much of a spec builder, but we do have an opportunity right now in the BC Building Code with the changes to higher densification. Typically, normal residential lots were limited, but that's all changing now. And if my dad was alive, he would say this is the time to be more of a spec builder. We're being exposed to it because people are coming to us who already have the land identified or are looking for land, and they know exactly what they want. They want a relationship with us to either find the land for them or work with their property and build on it. And when you build on it, you're able to actually take a single property title and transition that often into four titles on one lot. And that's a nice change of subject for me today, Frank, is to consider the opportunity of putting working capital to work with this new BC building code that we have to work with.
Okay. That sounds interesting. So for our listener, we're talking about, we have lands being developed, we have buildings being raised. So we're talking about if I want to build something, I don't have the capital. What did I do? This has been done in history many, many times over, and even today, people where they come together, they have capitals that they can leverage on, and together they develop a project. This is what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yes. People are looking to take a property. We've got several in the design because we have in-house architecture and permit services. So we have several right now, about 12 right now that are in various stages of the design and permitting. And we're seeing a single family home being taken down. Maybe it's 50 years old and it's served its purpose. It's end of life almost. We're taking it down. We're building, the most popular scenario is a duplex.
Right.
So you've got two separate titles on the duplex, each with a mortgage helper or income with a basement suite that's legal. And then we have a laneway home on top of that. So you're getting five properties out of one typical lot in Burnaby, Vancouver, Coquitlam. That's making it pretty wise investment for the investor.
That sounds very appealing. If I am an owner and I have my house might be, going on 7 years, 60 years mark, and I want to make sure that I'm monetizing every inch of it. So is this something that I should be entertaining where let's build additional, even take down the old house and then maximize the number of units that can be built on it?
Frank, that is most typically what's going on. I know we're doing some major remodeling on older homes, but the the best return on investment because you've got the 10-year warranty, the 2510 warranty that's mandatory now with the BC Building Code. So starting new, starting fresh, now you've got a clean bill of health. The property's age doesn't matter, of course. It's the age of the construction. So tearing down the building, I know it breaks our heart sometimes to do that, but there's like 3,000 homes a year being torn down in Vancouver right now. So we're taking a small part of that. And the reason people are finding that desirable is because they get custom homes that are up to today's quality and energy efficient standards. That's a big difference from years ago. And then of course the return on investment because of the high density, we're able to get multiple titles out of one property. So yeah, tearing down seems to be a wise course for most.
That's a very interesting. So, how can somebody start entertaining something like this? Do they just contact you, or they need to find other investor? Can you walk us through how this could eventually happen?
Like every one of our relationships with homeowners, it starts with a phone call. So usually a phone call would start to me And we would take, everybody's unique. Every situation's unique. Every property's unique. Every investor's unique. So we'd spend a little time over a phone call, finding out if this fit is good for everyone. The scenarios usually lead to a joint venture. So a joint venture is a special purpose vehicle that can help us accommodate the wishes of the investor for return on investment, protection of the investment, and it's very project specific. It depends. I mean, a really good scenario is when the homeowner already has property. If they already have the property, that solves part of the equation. We can get the construction loan working capital several ways if they're putting the property up. But once again, it starts with a phone call so that we can figure out the scenario, what they're looking for, and how we can accommodate them.
Perfect, perfect. So I know you have had tremendous amount of experience doing building itself and for construction projects like this. So can you comment a little bit about what type of shares a person might have? Say they don't have a property like you mentioned, but they want to get in on a very exciting opportunity like this. What kind of funding or leverage space they should have for something like this?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Where it's like, how do you start? What happens in the middle, and how do you get out? So, how do you start? That's the big one. And I look at family. Some of my family has investment in the bank, and it's really safe in the bank, so to speak. It's relatively safe, but a very, very poor return on investment. And then others go to the stock market where it's a little more risky, but there is a better upside. You know, sometimes you'll hear investors say 10% on the stock market is pretty good. Maybe not sustainable all the time, but that's what they're hoping for. But real estate I'd consider for our family the best investment, as history shows. It is more secure, and the return on investment now is more predictable. So working with us, because we have so many projects on the go, the cost certainty can be determined based on our database of projects that we're working on or recently completed. We also have very strong relationships with our vendors, suppliers, and all of the ingredients going into a home. So we work on our competitiveness. Where we can build a house for $200 a square foot, it often goes up to $400 a square foot, because it's like asking how long a string is. The square footage cost varies on so many variables. How high is the foundation wall? How many square feet of cabinetry and countertop? All the way through a long list of things determine the cost of the house. But by going with us, we're going to have an open book, transparent relationship where those costs are absolutely shared to the penny, and for the most part, predictable.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, Gordie, why don't we do this? Let's play a scenario where today I have contacted several builders and I have vetted them and I've seen the extensive portfolio from CoreVal Home. I decided to want to take this a little bit further with you, Gordie. So I'm here expressing my interest. Hey, I would like to entertain building a home with you or finding a lot where we can collaborate together. What comes next in terms of maybe a company needs to be formed, and can you talk a little bit about what's protecting my investment and how are you managing the funds from different interested parties, please?
Okay, so that's going to be determined legally by the special purpose vehicle called the joint venture. So we're going to determine when investment is placed into the joint venture and how it's protected, and when it gets used in the joint venture, and then when it's taken out. So our ideal goal in these scenarios is to absolutely make sure that the investment is safe and secure. And current expectations, I mean, there's no way anyone can really guarantee the future. We can't, it's impossible to make an absolute guarantee. But history and the joint venture exercise, the scenario, what we call a pro forma, will show that we're trying to make sure that the cost of money is covered in the joint venture. Whether it's the investor's money or borrowed money, that will be covered by the joint venture and what we're trying to accomplish together. And as well, what our target is a minimum of 100% return on the capital invested. Some scenarios, the investor is putting up $500,000, plus he has borrowing power. So $500,000 or $1 million, and then borrowing power. If you've got that combination, we can do a lot with that. And so the investment would be, okay, let's write the pro forma where we're going to double the investment. So if the investment's 500,000, 700,000, that at the end of the day is got to come back to the investor as 1 million or 1.4 million, doubling the investment. And then the performer will show that all the cost of money, if he's got the borrowing power for the construction loan, which we can help with, that's all covered as well by the joint venture. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And it also opens up a few more. So let me pick your brain a little bit if you don't mind. So now that we have a joint venture, you and I both have equal stakes in this project. So would it be the joint venture that would go out and leverage money, or individually we would go out and leverage our borrowing power and then put it in the joint venture?
That would depend on the unique relationship with the investor. So some investors want us both to have equal skin in the game, so to speak, but then we split the reward.
Right.
Most investors want most of the reward. So we're finding investors that are talking about, no, we'll take care of the capital, we'll put the working capital up, you just get this job done. So if it's the full scope of work, then I'm using my real estate license, I'm a professional realtor, so I will identify a short list of the best properties that I can recommend. So right now I've got a couple of listings. I've got one listing in Burnaby that we can use that property and build 4 to 6 homes on that one property, separate homes, and subdivide. But it depends what the investment is going to be, and for as far as amount and what the turnaround is. Some want a quicker turnaround. They want to get in and get out within 24 months. So that would exclude rezoning. We wouldn't have the time to rezone. So we'd work with properties that are under their current zoning, allowing for us to build 2 or 3 titles. And that would be a quicker turnaround. So I would use my real estate sometimes before the listing hits the MLS. I'm able to bring in properties to be considered. And if they want to sit on the beach while I do all the work, they can do that, and we will represent them all the way through in a transparent relationship, from acquiring the land, identifying the land, acquiring the land, getting the architectural and permit service done in-house by our team, and then getting the construction phase done. And then we can even use our real estate arm to sell the properties when they're built or rent them out if that's their desire. So there's a wide range of variables on how to make that happen.
Right, perfect. As you're talking, I'm even thinking for people who are watching this, or maybe you come across this from Facebook, maybe just even give Gordie a shout by email or phone number. He has a list, like you mentioned, of the interested property that you guys can look into. Maybe there's a lot waiting for people to inject some capital and start building. This is very exciting. So okay, so I have the money. We work together. We form a joint venture. I know with construction there are always surprises when it comes to cost of labor, cost of goods, etc. So how do we manage this side of project, I guess, contingency fund, so we know that it doesn't go over budget, etc.
Our performer will include a contingency, and we'll discuss that and why the contingency needs to be there. I mean, we've got some trading partners in the world that are making things a little more difficult than they used to be.
Yes.
Including some tariff issues. But our supply chain, as you know, I can tell you firsthand, our supply chain is working very hard to mitigate the costs of any tariffs that are impacting. In fact, the impact is going to be very little with our projects. We're finding alternative trade partners, as well as the US based manufacturers are determined to absorb a lot of the cost of the tariff, if not all of it. So we're not losing ground. In fact, several people will tell you that the BC construction industry might have a net gain. As far as our costs are on our projects, we might, in the end of the day, because of what the tariffs are forcing us to do, we might be coming out with a lower cost. Now, that would be unimaginable in a way because costs don't seem to go backwards. But we're working hard to make sure, at the very least, the impact of these changes in our trade partners have very little impact on our projects. So that we're determined to do. But we will set up a contingency fund in the unlikely event there is something we need to absorb. Our 5-star reviews will tell you that in construction, especially in remodeling, we don't know what's behind the walls. And we have to overcome some surprises. But at the end of the day, this will indicate to you that it's being dealt with on a very fair and reasonable basis. When unexpected events happen, we're able to walk through it and work through it collaboratively.
Perfect, perfect. And now, Gordy, based on what you're seeing on the market, I sometimes I hear people mentioning it. People are building 3, 4 bedroom homes or apartments, but really it's the studio or the single room apartments or smaller units that are in a higher demand. Is that true? Can you comment a little bit about that? What kind of properties should we be entertaining building?
It depends on the city, really. I mean, some cities are very much like a mini hotel. They've got rooms maybe for students, for a family. Some of these rooms are very small and they're just meant, okay, 10 by 10, 10 by 12 bedrooms. Sometimes they're having a floating wardrobe so we don't have to frame in the closet even to lose, 6 inches of wall. So, it depends. But the high end market seems to be cooling right now. As far as the really high end luxury homes is a bit cooling. But that middle market, the lower middle market, we're kind of focused on that middle market. And we're in a lot of our customers are the lower middle market where they really want to be competitive, build this thing affordably. And it depends on the purpose. But most are looking for that individual title on a duplex where you've got maybe 2 stories for the primary resident and the basement, the first floor, is for the renter. So that can be done in as little as 2,200 square feet per duplex. We can do that and accomplish those goals with a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom kitchen for the primary residence, and then the secondary kitchen and bedrooms for the and bathrooms for the renter in the first floor.
And would that allow us some room to even build a laneway home at the back?
Most often, yes. Most often, when we do an analysis, which we do complimentary analysis for our potential customers, we do a feasibility study for them. We will find out what the maximum and best use is. And most often, we can do a duplex with a laneway. And sometimes the homeowner's moving into the laneway. It's beautiful, it's independent, and then he's either renting or selling the sides of the duplex.
Perfect. I love it. This is very exciting. Going from your end, what type of investor are you looking for or want to invite to these kind of opportunities?
Well, ideally, it's someone that's frustrated with their return on investment right now. They have some working capital, they want to put it to work, and they're not seeing a handsome return on their money. So it's someone that wants to get together with us and say, Gordie, what can you do? I've got 500,000 and I can borrow $1.5 million. What do you recommend? And then we can put down some scenarios to show them how they can do better than other investments and keep it safe and secure. We're also governed. Some people worry, well, what about the security? Because I'm a professional realtor and a licensed contractor, I'm governed by both the BC Housing, BC Building Code, but also the real estate regulations for any investors and contractors are primarily governed by RESA. So I have to subject my transactions under the authority of the Real Estate Services Act, or RESA. And there's extensive rules and requirements that have to be considered and followed. So you can be assured that things are going to be done transparently. We're going to include these governing authorities to make sure everything's on the up and up and we're in compliance. And that adds another layer of protection for the investors, not to mention the software we use for our control our costs and the project timeline.
Okay. So everything is transparent. It's written on the paper. Extensive building experience. We have in-house permitting and design team. We have you as the professional realtor also. So you handle really from finding a lot of opportunity all the way to building, all the way to building management, completion, and then sales of the property as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
it's a one-stop shop. I love it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the construction phase, once we get the permit, that could take 6 months to get the design and the permit. And then 6 months, we're ready to start construction. Well before that, we will be implementing all the data into BuilderTrend. BuilderTrend is our software, one of the most popular softwares in North America for building contractors to predict the timeline, because all the disciplines, all the trades are included in the BuilderTrend software. So we know when everybody will be working. And we also have a layer on BuilderTrend to predict the cash flow requirements. So we know when money will be required, either from the construction loan or the investor.
Okay, perfect. So as money gets pulled into the joint venture, that will be held in a newly set up business account. Is that right? And at stages of the building, funds will be extracted to complete each phases.
Yeah, exactly. It's all got to be protected in an independent corporation. The joint venture would be an independent corporation that would be like a partnership. And we will fulfill our obligations, which will be clearly outlined in the joint venture.
And I know many of us might ask, so Gordie, have you done something like this in the past where different people come together to build a project and then eventually sell it and then profit split?
Yes, we're working with several investors right now that are using our construction branch for that. And that's why I wanted to offer this to ones that I know. It's like, hey, consider doing this with us because we're doing it with others right now, and their return on investment is much better than a lot of placement of working capital. This is a really good way to put the working capital to work. And because we're focused on the middle of the market, it seems like it's always active. There's always activity in that middle market, and we also accommodate investors. Some investors want to utilize some of their skills, and we can work with them that way as well.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right. So anything else you would like to tell people who have some working capital and some borrowing power sitting around?
Just don't rule it out. Don't rule it out until you did some investigating. There's no obligation to give us a call
Yeah.
and kick the tires, so to speak. See if this suits you.
Right.
It's not for everyone, but I can see where it'd be a really good fit for a lot of people that want a safe, secure investment, something where they can actually help with the housing crisis in the process and put more homes out there for occupancy. And it's a worthy use of your funds. It's also a good return on investment, and we'll make sure that we do everything we can to make sure it's safe and the outcome is predictably good.
So to sum it up, if we have some funds, we contact you, we form a joint venture, and we're looking at give or take a 3-year window
We can we can take it start to finish in 24 months.
into it.
If we're aggressive and everything's ideal, it can be less than 24 months.
Wow.
But typically it's going to be at 24 months. So if we have to do rezoning or a board of variance, it's going to add 6 months to 12 months, depends on the city and what we're asking to change. So ideally, we'll find property that's already zoned.
And so I would say that's to be on the safe side, 24 months to maybe 2 years and a half. And then we'll put the finished building on the market. That property is still under the 2510 warranty. And after we sell the homes, what happens to the joint venture? Maybe I should have asked this question a little earlier.
Yes, the joint venture would be basically closed. The titles of the property would either go back to the investor or it would be sold. It depends if they want to rent some or all of it out or not. And so that would be disclosed in the description of the joint venture, how we begin, what happens in the middle, and how we end the joint venture working together. It has a special purpose, shelf life that is predetermined. It's not meant to be an enduring relationship. It's meant to, I would like to do it over again, and we're looking for investors, if it goes well, would say, let's go again, let's do it again. And that would be ideal. That would be a really good partnership for us.
But for everybody's risk management, let's say something happens to the home and now there's some legal responsibility to be explored. By closing down the joint venture, is that in fact a protection to people who are taking part of this?
Yes, what doesn't get closed down is my contractor's license on the construction. So the building itself is protected not only by the city inspections, the assurances that it's been built correctly, but also our Pacific Home warranty. They do their own inspections independent from the city. And our structural will be guaranteed for 10 years according to Pacific Home warranty. The building envelope for leaks, 5 years, and all of the labor and other materials for 2 years. Plus we have limited lifetime on all the plumbing and electrical fixtures. So there's an overarching warranty, and including my $5 million general liability coverage. So we've got excellent protection from that, independent from the joint venture.
So it sounds like you're taking the blunt of the blame, so to speak.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Absolutely. So, okay, that's great for investor. We jump in with the funds. You take care of most of the project. You're the one that has to be the person to answer to it if something goes south. And after the project is done, we split the money. you're still held accountable, but us as investor, we're in terms of the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, exactly right. I've some put it this way. I'll put up the capital, you put up the work. That's working capital.
There you go. Perfect. All right. I really think everybody who's watching this, you know, like what you said, this might not be for you, but it's definitely worth entertaining to see if this is an option that will give you a higher return. Because as we know, the stock market is quite volatile. Explore, explore the options out there. And I think this is something that maybe isn't on top of your mind, but it should be something worth a conversation with Gordie about. Would you say?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm ready to
All
go.
right. Give Gordie a call, guys. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Gordie.
thanks, Frank.
Thank you.